Let's stop pretending this is just another transfer story, because what's unfolding right now behind the closed, wood-paneled doors of Premier League boardrooms is not merely a negotiation, not merely a tug-of-war between agents and clubs and spreadsheets. It's a silent storm brewing between legacy and reinvention, a philosophical reckoning being fought not on the pitch but in the corridors of ambition, and at the very center of this storm is the name Bryan Mbeumo, a man who, not long ago, was just another face in the championship, a raw winger running down touchlines for Brentford, yet now stands as the unexpected key to unlocking Manchester United's entire next era under Rúben Amorim, who has been tasked not just with coaching but with resurrecting an empire that has crumbled under the weight of years of underachievement, broken philosophies, and false dawns. Mbeumo isn't just being scouted, he's being envisioned, not merely evaluated by data scientists in dimly lit analytics rooms, but deeply studied by Amorim himself, who reportedly sees Mbeumo not as a winger or a goal scorer, but as something more elemental to the system he's about to unleash at Old Trafford. A system that demands not just talent but total submission to the machine of tactical synergy, positional flexibility, relentless press and collapse football, and above all, intuition. And as that vision takes shape, so too does the race to capture the man who could be its first cornerstone, with Manchester United having already fired the first serious shot. A $55 million bid on the table, reportedly matched with a towering $200,000 a week wage package that signals not just intent, but desperation. Because this is a club no longer trying to window dress failure. This is a club that must win the summer transfer window or risk sliding permanently into irrelevance. Especially with Tottenham, those lurking opportunists, preparing their own move, quietly waiting for Thomas Frank to land at White Hart Lane and bring with him not just tactical stability, but a pre-existing bond with Mbeumo that could prove emotionally irresistible. Because let's not kid ourselves, football isn't just tactics and numbers. It's familiarity, it's trust, it's the feeling of being understood, of being weaponized properly. Mbeumo's best football didn't happen in isolation. It happened under Frank. It happened in a system that knew exactly how to disguise his weaknesses and unleash his strengths. And now, should Frank land the Spurs job, the temptation to rejoin his former mentor, to play in a league where Champions League football is not a theoretical promise but a confirmed reality, could force Mbeumo to second-guess even his dream of joining Manchester United, because yes, it's true, according to Fabrizio Romano and every other plugged-in journalist, that Mbeumo wants United, has asked for United, and sees United as the final proving ground of his evolution. But how long can that belief hold if United hesitate, if Tottenham moves swiftly, if Brentford dig in for one final payday and raise the fee towards 65 million, triggering the kind of brinkmanship that has historically undone so many of United's previous transfer plans? And even if United secure the player, even if they finally beat Spurs to the punch and ink Mbeumo's signature on a 5-year deal, there remains a cloud of anxiety hanging over the move, a deeper fear born from data, from predictive analytics, from the cold whisper of statistics that tell a story far less romantic than the narrative United are selling. Because while Mbeumo dazzled with 15 goals this season, the underlying XG tells a more uncomfortable truth. He overperformed by more than double, scoring 15 goals off an expected return of just 7.6, a statistical outlier so dramatic that only 0.4% of simulated seasons project a similar yield, placing him squarely in the category of unsustainable brilliance, a shooting star rather than a fixed flame. And in any other context, this might be a red flag. But at United, with Amorim's arrival and INEOS's growing influence, it's seen differently. It's seen as a gamble worth taking, especially because Mbeumo brings more than goals. He brings movement, he brings chaos, he brings the kind of spatial intelligence that makes lesser players look world-class. And that is exactly what United need right now. Especially if Rasmus Højlund, who finished the season as the most isolated striker in the league, doesn't stay. Yes, you heard that right. Højlund, the $72 million gamble from last summer, may be on his way out, with Inter Milan reportedly circling. And if that deal goes through, then the entire structure of United's attack will need recalibration, which is why Mbeumo is suddenly seen as a priority, not an option. Because in Amorim's 3-4-3 system, he envisions Mbeumo and Matheus Cunha, another new signing from Wolves, operating behind a more traditional striker like Viktor Gyökeres, who has been lighting up the Portuguese league and looks ready for a Premier League explosion. And when you think about it like that, when you realize that Mbeumo isn't just a winger, but potentially the left side hinge in a new footballing trinity that could redefine United's attacking identity, you begin to understand why Amorim is so all in on this deal, and why United are willing to overlook the XG warnings and focus instead on the broader metrics of value that Mbeumo brings: his off-ball runs, his pressing intensity, his chance creation from wide zones, and his ability to invert inside and strike with his left foot, something he's refined into a near-signature move this season. And let's not forget, Brentford and Wolves played in systems with under 49% possession, meaning both Kuna and Mbeumo had far fewer attacking sequences per game than what they'll receive at United, who averaged 53.6% possession last season despite a tactical mess. That possession boost alone could translate into more touches, more shots, and ultimately more goals, even if shooting percentages regress slightly. But numbers alone don't tell this story, because this is also about redemption. This is about a player like Mbeumo proving that he's more than just a one-season wonder. This is about Amorim proving he's not just a system coach, but a talent identifier. And this is about Manchester United proving to the world that they can outmaneuver rivals, build smart, and restore a footballing identity that has been shattered by years of incoherent recruitment and cultural decay. But even as United push forward with this deal, as they edge closer to the finish line, a new specter rises in the background: Spurs. Always Spurs. The dark horse that never truly sleeps. And now, with Ange Postecoglou's exit and Thomas Frank reportedly ready to step in, the nightmare scenario for United becomes real. Mbeumo, reunited with the manager who molded him, playing Champions League football in London, surrounded by a squad that already has a functioning identity and infrastructure. It's a worst-case outcome that would not only deny United the player they've chased all summer, but hand him to a direct rival with a smarter project and less drama. That's why every hour counts now. That's why INEOS are pushing hard, reportedly returning to the negotiating table with improved incentives and performance bonuses, knowing that the next few days could decide not just this transfer window, but the next 2 seasons. Because if they land Mbeumo, and he links up with Kuna and potentially Gyökeres, and Amorim's tactical vision clicks into place, then United could finally look like a coherent, modern football club again. But if they hesitate, if they try to lowball Brentford one last time, or if Spurs swoop in with Frank and Mbeumo shifts allegiances out of loyalty and ambition, then the entire structure falls apart. And the consequences? Catastrophic. Not just on the pitch, but in the dressing room, in the fan base, and in the long-term project that Sir Jim Ratcliffe and INEOS are trying to build. That's why this moment matters. That's why this isn't just a transfer story, it's a reckoning. And somewhere, in the quiet of his own thoughts, Bryan Mbeumo must decide. Does he chase the dream and become a hero at Old Trafford, a symbol of rebirth in red and white? Or does he follow the whisper of comfort and trust and rebuild something familiar in North London? One decision, 2 futures, infinite consequences.